task in there.
There we go. And is this big for a Western Diamondback?
That is large. They can achieve lengths of up to 7 feet, but the average is far less than that. Once again, it's all about averages. It's like Shaquille O'Neal 7'2". Are we all going to get there? It's not going to happen. We average far less. Same with these guys. They can get up to 7 feet. A large adult actually is between 4 and 5 feet.
And rattlesnakes don't lay eggs, of course. They have babies. They retain the eggs inside their bodies, unlike many other reptiles, and they give birth to live young, which are miniature replicas of the adults, which is a wonderful thing to see. If you ever get the chance, any of the kids get the chance to go out in the autumn when they have their babies, if you stumble across a rattlesnake female and there's babies nearby, they're perfect replicas of the parents. They're beautiful things to see, with just one tiny little button at the, you can't get that close enough to see that, but one tiny little button at the end of their tail. When they're born, they just have one segment at the end of their tail, so they can't possibly rattle. A newly born rattlesnake can't rattle its tail because it's only got one segment that can shake together. And this is Cody, the alligator, been around for 350 million years, virtually unchanged, alligators and crocodiles. How can you tell a crocodile from an alligator? Well, everyone asks that. Well, if you look at the shape of the snout, alligators have a much broader snout, and also, when I'm going to take him into the audience in a minute, I'll hold the head, don't worry about it, so you can just touch the tail. But the teeth fit into sockets in the jaws. If this was a crocodile, they always have a snaggle tooth, a tooth that sticks up from the bottom jaw that you can always see. So if it's got a toothy smile, it's a crocodile. If it's got nicely arranged teeth, it's an alligator. And again, the broad snout here, the broad snout of an alligator, a crocodile would have a much thinner, longer snout. So anyone that wants to touch that again? Nobody go near the head, please. I'll just... There we go.
Now, Mike, he was found here in San Angelo. Do we believe he really was from this area?
No, he was found here at a local stock tank. However, they do not occur here.
It was quite nice, doesn't it?
We're several miles outside.
Do you mind if I take a picture of you and the alligator?
So he was probably just released.
And can I see the head and the eyes?
Someone caught him in the vein, and they decided, you know what, we can't have this legally. And just
That's very dangerous. You must know it. He's cold, so that means he's cold-blooded. Yeah, there you go. Like that one.
There we go.
What is it? He's a cold-blooded animal because it's cold. That means it's touch him like that.
There we go. Show incredible maternal behaviour. When they lay there, the female makes a big nest in late summer. She lays her eggs inside the nest and guards the eggs until they hatch, stays around, she'll attack. We've got a creature here that she'd attack if it got too close to the nest. And then when the babies hatch out, we've all seen those wonderful films. I've actually filmed it myself once or twice, where the mother digs into the nest, she hears the cries of her babies and takes them in her mouth down to the water. And then the baby alligators will stay with the mum for around 6 months. So she doesn't just protect them while they're hatching, she also protects them in the early days. Young alligators feed on insects and things like that. When they get bigger, they take much larger prey. Again, not very dangerous to people unless we feed them. That's the problem with alligators. If people feed them like the ones that live in Florida, they associate humans with food, and that's when attacks can happen. But they really are extraordinary creatures, and they've been around since before the age of the dinosaurs. So when you touch, you've actually touched a living fossil here. I'm holding a living fossil, a creature that's been pretty much virtually unchanged for 350 million years. So these are remarkable ancient reptiles.
And just a note on the liability side, when you're at the Nature Center, we have Walter, the large alligator in the backyard. He may look like he's all nice and sweet and kind of wants to be rubbed between the eyes. Please don't do that. Don't reach over the cage. Like he's saying, that's when they become most dangerous, is they associate people with food. And so, you know, when you're at the Nature Center, please don't reach into the cage in the backyard.
They're tongs, I must say.
Many of you guys oftentimes come to the Nature Center, you don't get to see Hollywood. Hollywood, oh, thank you. He stays in his box. They're nocturnal, which means they come out only at nighttime. And so he stays in his box all day long. Not in my ear, please. And so he sleeps all day long, and then he's active at night. So when we have our Nature Night programs, you get an opportunity to see him at that point, but usually you don't get to see him. So we thought we'd bring him tonight. What are you smelling? And so, and he's right, he does smell very bad. In fact, I'll walk down the aisle. Please don't reach out and spook him, but just kind of take a close look at him. It's probably as close as you can really get to a raccoon so you can see.
I wouldn't smell it either.
Yes, yeah. Hollywood's a male. He's about 4 years old now. Yeah, I know. Thank you. Either he's giving me a kiss or he's saying, okay, I'm going to get this nice and wet so this will be softer when I bite. Well, guys, this kind of concludes the animal portion of this. We do want to give you the opportunity to ask questions, so we can answer a few questions here. We'll answer a few just right in this setting, but we want to have you guys the opportunity to come up and meet Nigel again, just kind of and just say hi and ask any questions. We also, baby is about, let me see, we've had 16 years old. 16 years old. Now, Burmese pythons have a lifespan of about 25 years, so she's getting on up there in age. Yeah, we've had him. He was raised as a baby. A gentleman found the mom, and they accidentally killed the mother, and there were some babies, and so they raised this one from hand. Ow, that's my ear. And then he found out you cannot keep these legally. Ouch. You cannot keep these legally in Texas, so he was donated to the Nature Center. Nigel, you got a question?
How fast can a velociraptor run? Do you know?
I don't know, and it's very difficult to know how fast dinosaurs can actually run. There's a lot of controversy about how fast even a T-Rex can go. Many people think maybe 30 miles per hour, but velociraptors were very small, and they were very fast, but how quickly they moved, nobody's quite sure. You can only tell by measuring the footprints. If you've got a long line of footprints, scientists can calculate how fast they move from the footprints. I think it's very difficult because if you have a period of good summers with good food, they can grow very fast. If it's bad summers with little food, they don't grow very fast at all. You certainly can't tell from the segments in the tail. So unless you've actually marked one by cutting a scale carefully or in a scientific study, it's very difficult to tell how old a rattlesnake. Can you guess how old a rattlesnake is?
No, you answered it perfectly, because when we have periods of drought, they may only shed one time a year, possibly two. But in years of extreme rainfall, they can shed up to 5 or 6 times. So it's really, I mean, obviously you'd look at an animal like we had the big diamondback out a while ago. Obviously he's not 2 years old, but so it's really hard to gauge on the age. It just depends on so many different factors.